In this lecture, we'll be working in the 3D viewport, and I'll show you all the different tools and hotkeys for navigating through 3D space so that you can get comfortable with moving around your 3D scene. And it sounds simple, but it's very important, especially early on, to get the hang of 3D navigation. And just to help us know which views we're in, I'm going to delete the default cube and add in something that's not identical on every side. Where's it at? Add mesh, monkey. There we go. First, let's go over the hotkeys for the different views, and you can find all the different view options up in the view menu as well. You can go down to viewpoint, you can see you have all the different views here, including camera view, and you have other view options as well. But in this lecture, we're going to really focus on using the hotkeys since it's very important for your workflow to get the hang of the hotkeys. So the hotkeys for the views are all located on the numpad. If we press numpad 1, it takes us right into front view, and you can see what view you're in by looking at the name right up here. Now let's press numpad 3 for side view and numpad 7 for top view. And we can get the opposite of all those views by holding the control key. For example, numpad 1 is front view, but control and numpad 1 is back view. Control numpad 3 is the other side view, and control numpad 7 is bottom view. Now you'll notice next to the names it says orthographic. What this means is that there's no vanishing points, which is why everything looks kind of flat. So let me press numpad 1 for front view again. And if we middle click and drag to rotate the scene, you can see it automatically switches to perspective view. And perspective's not flat. Perspective has these vanishing points, which gives everything that true to life three-dimensional feel. To toggle between perspective and orthographic view, you can press numpad 5. So even with a rotated view, you can still be in orthographic view. You don't necessarily have to be in perspective view. Now, other cool hotkeys for changing the view are numpad 2, 4, 6, and 8. So for example, if I press numpad 4 and numpad 6, you can see it's rotating the view in about 15-degree increments, left and right. And numpad 8 and numpad 2 are rotating the view up and down, depending on which one we press. And those keys actually really come in handy for rotating around your models. Now, if you forget the hotkeys and you don't want to go up into the menu to seek out the view that you want to look in, you can press the tilde key, and this gives you a pie menu of all the different main views here. Now, another cool way to change views is to hold Alt and middle click and swipe in the direction you want to change the view. For example, we're in front view right now, so I'll hold Alt, middle click, and swipe left, and it takes us into right side view. Now I'll hold Alt, swipe down, and it takes us into top view. And if I hold Alt and swipe up, it takes us in the front view and then bottom view. So this is a really cool and fast way to switch views. And another way to switch views is if you have this type of axis enabled here, you can click on these buttons and it actually switches up the view for you depending on which axis you choose. Now let's go over working with moving around the scene and rotating the scene. So to pan your scene in any direction, hold Shift and then middle click and drag. And if you want to rotate the scene around, just simply middle click and drag. You can also use the axis up here by clicking on it and dragging, and that can rotate your scene as well. Now there's a few different ways to zoom in and out in your scene. You can use the scroll wheel on the middle mouse, and that will zoom in and out in increments, or you can hold Control and then middle click and drag up or drag down to zoom in or out. You can also use the plus and minus signs on the numpad as well. And another zoom tool that's really useful is the zoom box. So let me press Shift and B to activate the zoom box. And let's say I want to zoom into just this eyeball over here. Well, I'll left click and drag to draw a box over it, and it zooms in to whatever's in that box. So that's really useful. And another cool hotkey is the period on the numpad, which just zooms into whatever you have selected. So for example, if I select the lamp, press the period key on the numpad, it zooms right into that selection. And that works with whatever you have selected. Now let's say I'm away from everything in the scene like that, and I want to center everything in the middle of the view. For that, I'll press Shift and C, and that centers everything into view just like that. And last but not least, there's one more view to go over, and that would be camera view. If your scene has a camera, you can press numpad 0, and that will take you directly into the camera view so you can see what your final render will look like. And that pretty much does it for the basics of navigating in 3D space. It's very important to get comfortable with these tools and hotkeys because you'll be using them all the time. But again, if you forget the hotkeys for anything, you can always find those options in the view menu right here, down under viewpoint and navigation here. Alright, so that's going to do it for this lecture, so I'll see you in the next one.